Hey class, sorry I can't be there with you again today. What I'm going to do for you here in the next 5 to 10 minutes is show you how we can solve this essay problem. So hopefully you can watch this video, go through these formulas, and you can figure this out on your own. Again, the essay problem I'm talking about is this one here. You should have this sheet in your folder from, I guess, Tuesday when we had school last. I'm going to outline some important formulas for you and then show those to you here on this sheet of paper, okay? So when we're doing this, we're first off looking at supply and demand. And with this, we're trying to find equilibrium price. Okay. One of the first important formulas that we're going to need is just slope. Okay, and you should probably remember this from your regular algebra classes, but this is going to be m, or the product of our slope that we're looking for, equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. The next couple important equations that we're going to need are one for supply and one for demand. These may seem a bit confusing right now. You did watch that video the other day. Hopefully you'll get to watch that again today. But these will make more sense once we see them in application. So for supply, we know it's quantity for both, right? Supplied, just the little s, and demanded, the d. For quantity supplied, we're going to look at y. The reason we're using y is because on our graph we have price and quantity, and when we're graphing we're always using the y over the x, so therefore quantity we're going to use y. So y plus 1p. Okay, and for demand it's qd equals x minus 1p. Now these variables here we're going to fill in with stuff that we see on our demand and supply curve, and I'm going to show you that on some graph paper in just a moment. Before you get started, a good strategy to do when looking at this essay problem is to break it down into categories. When looking at this, I see that we have three different categories that are most important. The very first category being price. Then we have the quantity demanded of gallons of gas, and then we have the quantity supplied that the producers are willing to supply at each one of these given prices. Okay, so go through. The oil company extracts and processes oil to turn into gasoline. Important, but not that important. They found that when they entered the marketplace at the cost of $1, so it's $1 per gallon. This is our first important variable. People would buy five gallons per week. Now this is going to be our quantity demand. It's because how much they want. Now, in turn, you keep reading. At this price, the oil company would only like to supply 1 gallon. So now you're seeing our x and y coordinates and how they're going to become important. Then we keep reading, and then we go to the next price. At $4 a gallon, people would like to buy 2 gallons a week. So there's again our quantity demanded. At this price, the oil company will only supply, or is willing to supply, $4 a gallon. So we don't have quite equilibrium yet. Now we keep going down, we jump to the next price of $5 per gallon. At this price, consumers are only going to want 1 gallon a week, according to our chart. We keep reading, we find out that they're going to be willing to supply 5 gallons a week at this price. Now, as you've seen for solving for equilibrium before, you should be able to figure that out within this chart. But the basis of this question does not give you enough data to do so. So then comes in using one of our graphing sheets. Okay? So it's important to make sure that when we're doing these graphing sheets that we label everything correctly. So this is going to be and there's our title. We know that this is going to be our price side. And this is going to be quantity. Okay, now Now I'm going to go through and just plot these real quickly for you so you can see what's happening. So at $1, so we have to go through and do our prices here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just go up to 8 for right now. 2, or that's supposed to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So at $1, right here, our price, quantity demand, and we know which way our demand curve is going to slope. They want 5 gallons. So we're going to come over here and do our first line there. Now, at $1, quantity supplied is 1 gallon. So we have 2 points right here. Okay. Now we come back at $4. Quantity demand is 2 gallons. Okay. Now it's my suggestion, so that you don't get confused, that you hop back down and do the next quantity demanded so you don't get your lines confused. So let's go to $5, and they only want 1 gallon at that price. And we can see the line that we've generated here. And I'm just going to use this piece of paper here. You can use a ruler. To graph that point. So we have each one of those here. Now you go back through and let's finish off what we started with, the quantity supplied. So at $4, they're willing to produce 2 gallons. So right here, and no, sorry, 4 gallons. So at $4, they're willing to produce 4. So you go to 4 and 4. And then at $5, they're willing to produce 5. So you come over and do the same thing. Okay, now we can see that we have a pretty close equilibrium price here at $3. And we could stop there and we could say that that's that because we've graphed this properly and we've solved for it. But if in the event that you don't have enough information to solve for this, how are you going to fix that? Well, you have to be able to use both of these equations. But the trick to using these equations is you have to know where the line impacts at on this axis here. Okay, so for quantity supplied, we're going to use that supply line. And then our demand line here to find each one of these points. Okay, if you were to go and input these prices into this equation, it's not going to give you the correct answer. So how do you find out where this line impacts? It's easy for this one. We can see that it's a consistent slope, but we're going to use the slope formula anyways to kind of test that, and we'll use any 2 points that we want. So to find our slope, we're going to use y2 over y1 and x2 over x1. So we just need to pick 2 points on any given line, and we can use the supply line here, and we know that we have a 1, 1, okay, and then we also have a, well, that's our possible equilibrium, we have a 5, 5. Okay, so if we go and put this formula in, it's going to be and there's your x2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so when you do this, you end up with 4 over 4, and you divide this out, and it equals 1 over 1. And we already knew this by looking at this graph, but our slope, or m, equals 1 over 1. So then we can come back and figure out where both of these points would impact on this line. And for our supply line, we go down 1 and over 1. And it's going to impact right here at 0. okay? We can go here, and we can go up 1, and continue to do that until we find out that it's going to impact at 6, okay? So this is how we figure this out. Now we're going to come back over to our two equations, and we're going to input x, our x variable, which we discover is 6 for demand, okay? So it's going to be QD equals 6 minus 1P, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing with our quantity supplied equals 0 plus 1P. Now, in order for this to work properly, we know equilibrium price is a combination of where these two lines cross or where they equal. So you need to set this equation to be equal to one another. And you also have to solve for it in order to do so. I'm going to pause right here for just a second.